A recipe for vla, a quick, delicious pudding with just 5 ingredients: cornstarch, sugar, and egg yolks, milk, and vanilla. This is a serving for 4. You want 2 cups of milk. You can use whole milk, or you can use skim milk, or whatever milk. It works either way. Put it in a pan and turn the heat on your stove to about medium and cover the pan. You want it to get hot and start steaming, but not to boil the milk. In the meantime, you want to mix a 1/4 cup of white sugar with 2 egg yolks. Mix those together really well, and then you're going to add 1/3 cup of cornstarch. If you want to double this recipe, double everything but the cornstarch. The cornstarch you want to do a little bit less than double, because otherwise it gets tasting a bit too much like cornstarch. It's going to get very thick, so you're going to want to add a little bit of milk to thin it out. But at this point, the milk in your pan should be steaming a bit, so you can actually take some of that milk and use it to temper the egg mixture. A little bit at a time, mix it together, a few scoops until it gets thin enough that you can pour the egg mixture back into the rest of the milk. And you want to do this next part very quickly because it will start to set very quickly. If you have a food thermometer, you'll note that at about 170 Fahrenheit, it starts to get thick. So mix it in, scrape out everything from the cup. You don't want to lose any of your delicious pudding. And then mix it, stirring the whole way. It'll go from this to this thicker pudding very quickly. When you see that it's about like that, that's when it's ready to come off. You want to put it through a strainer, as with any custard, any egg thing like this. You want to put it through a strainer to get rid of any lumps. Scrape out the bottom of your pot too, because if you leave it in there too long, it'll overcook it. Get all the bits of good pudding. And at this point, you want to add some vanilla. I'm using artificial because real vanilla is super expensive. If you have a vanilla pod, you can put it, 1/4 of it, into the milk as it heats up, and it makes a really nice flavor. But as we said, real vanilla is super expensive. You want to thin the pudding out now with some cold milk. That's because, as with any custard, it'll get a lot thicker as it cools. And this pudding is traditionally a very thin pudding, served with chocolate sprinkles, by the way, in Holland. When you take it out of the fridge, it's going to be thick again, and you'll actually want to add some more milk. Whisk it until it's nice and smooth just before you serve it. So cover it with some plastic, stick it in the fridge to cool for a few hours, and then enjoy this delicious, simple vanilla pudding we call vla.